love this podcast? Support us by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Hit the link in the episode description to support us now. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
I think that there's only one way we can begin this episode.
Of course.
On the count of 3.
1, 2, 3.
Cruella De Vil. Cruella De Vil. If she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will. To see her is to get a sudden chill.
Cruella De Vil.
Well, of course, we're going to open this episode up with that song because actually today who we're really focusing on is Cruella De Vil, one of the most famous Disney villains. I think she's top tier, top 10 at least, in terms of...
She's not... Yeah, I think she has an interesting stance in the Disney realm.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that for sure because I think that's what...
Well,
I think she's a fascinating character.
Yes, she's most memorable. Let's just say that. And we are talking, of course, about the original Disney classic, 1961's 101 Dalmatians. We're going to go to 1986's live-action remake with Glenn Close of 1996 and tie it all up with the most recent Disney release of 2021's Cruella, the prequel to all of these films, which I guess is a revival of sorts.
It's a revival. It's like a reboot. It's like a reimagining.
It's like a retcon. It's like its own thing. It's It's all the re's.
It's all the R's.
Yeah. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Rolando.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about unoriginality. We said it all pretty much in the opening, so we should kind of just get right into it, right? Did you watch this movie a lot growing up?
101 Dalmatians?
Yeah.
Yes, I watched 101 Dalmatians a lot only because my sister was obsessed with a dog, wanting a dog. So she would watch this movie over and over again, and it's forever ingrained in my memory. And luckily, it's not a bad movie.
Yeah, 100%. Growing up, I didn't really like the Disney princess movies as much. I always liked the Disney animal-focused films a lot better than the ones about humans.
Like a Fox and the Hound?
Less that. I actually didn't watch that growing up. I think my mother deemed it too sad or something.
I actually watched that one a lot.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that until I was 17.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
I'm talking Aristocats, Robin Hood.
I hate the Aristocats.
I love it. It's cats.
It has cats.
And it's in France. What could come on.
Is it? Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was in France. I actually thought they were in London.
I'm pretty sure it's... Oh my God. I haven't seen the movie in years. I think they're in France. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, sorry, I like the animal-centric ones a little bit better. What about you, Eddie Z? Did you watch these movies growing up?
Yes, they were in the background always because my mom used to babysit my nieces and nephews. So these were movies that we always had.
Yep. And what about the 1996 one with Glenn Close? Did you guys watch that one too?
I actually did not see this.
Oh, okay.
I actually did not see this.
I'm going to throw Eddie under the bus here.
What?
Eddie, every time I kept trying to put this on over the weekend, he would just fight me tooth and nail and would not really
because we just finished seeing Cruella.
And you know what? I'm sorry. Watching Glenn Close as Cruella De Vil is just worth the movie.
Yeah. Pretty
it's
much.
Such an over-the-top performance.
It is so over-the-top. But before we get there, I did watch this movie. I remember seeing this movie in theaters.
So did I, yes.
And I remember my VHS and the way it looked and maybe even the way it smelled if I think long and hard about it. But yeah, this is very much my childhood. I also wanted a Dalmatian because of this and then only was shocked to later find out that Dalmatians aren't the friendliest. At least in terms of friendly dog breeds, in quotation marks.
If any movie proved that right, it was Cruella, right?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, that's true. This is true. So of course, let's do a little bit of history, right? Everyone's favorite portion of it. Got to give you guys some historical perspective before we dive deep into these films. All right. It's 1961. Kennedy's in office. What else? The Twilight Zone is on American television sets. 1961, West Side Story, which is going to be remade. This film, that one was one Best Picture that year at the Oscars.
How exciting!
Yes, so exciting. And Disney actually they had a slump, right? In 1959, they released a film called Sleeping Beauty that was a total flop. And it was something that Disney had a lot of ambition and put a lot of money into, and it wasn't worth it. Now it's considered a classic, but at the time, 2 years after, he needed something to get him out of the slump. So he needed something good, something family friendly, something cheap. And lo and behold, he actually found a book by Dottie Smith that came out in 1956 called The 101 Dalmatians.
The 101 Dalmatians is all spelt out. It's not the numbers, guys. Yeah. This is like proper English here.
It is proper English, exactly. Yeah, and it is about a pair of Dalmatians, Pongo and Mrs., actually. And they're part of the newly married Dearly family and their nannies. And
interesting. So Dearly is canon, and so is Pongo, but not Perdita.
Not Perdita. And aren't they the darlings in the movie? Not the Dearly?
No, they're darling. You're thinking darling. That's Lady and the Tramp. However, in Cruella, Anita Darling is her name. And I was wondering, I actually thought it's just like, wait, are they trying to connect Lady and the Tramp with Cruella?
Yeah, true.
Maybe they're cousins or something?
Maybe.
Maybe Anita is one of the cousins for the Darling family.
That would make sense that we covered Lady and the Tramp and those dogs talked, whereas in Cruella, jumping the gun here, but spoiler alert, they do not talk.
Well, no, that doesn't matter. Well, because we're only watching the perspective of the human. It doesn't matter. And we don't know if the dogs are talking.
Oh my gosh! Right, that's digging in deep.
I mean, there you go.
That's a good point,
about film theory here, guys.
Absolutely.
You're hearing it first, because I looked this up, and not 1% has caught on that like the Darling is also the name of the Lady and the Tramp family. So I think this is Disney's subtle way of like creating a shared universe because that's so popular right now.
Wow, good on you, Rolando. I could see that definitely being a thing. But yeah, so we don't want to spend too much time on the book, but needless to say that Cruella De Vil is very much a character in the book, right? That it's like she's an old schoolmate of Mrs. Dearly, and she's a very wealthy woman. She's so fixated on fur clothing, and that she just is like she wants these animals to be her fur coat, right? So this is something that
interesting. So that's also canon there. That
where
is
canon.
Cruella and Anita knew each other growing up.
Yeah. Well, this is probably one of the most faithful Disney adaptations, I'll say.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here, but Cruella
from a book to a movie.
Sure. Because I mean, Anita usually is like an employee in both instances of Cruella De Vil.
Oh, right. In that case, yeah, it is a little different. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is true. Now let me say that I never read this book. So any questions that you or our audience members might have, just doing a little research about it, I found, how true to the book that the movie was for the most part. Of course, it's not 100% the same. But if anyone has read this book too and they have any thoughts about it, it's a children's book. It's an illustrated book. It's nothing really complicated.
Is it? Yeah.
It is.
I didn't know that. Okay.
It's very pretty. If you look up the images on Google, it's very pretty. So Disney, the moment he read this book, he was like, this would make a great movie. And lo and behold, Dottie Smith was very happy to be contacted by Disney because she thought her book would make a great Disney movie. And it was very successful when it came out. It actually tremendously helped them out of their slump. The budget was $3.6 million, the box office. I think, of course, now this is to this day, but still, it's over $300 million that the 101 Dalmatians has raked in. That's pretty impressive.
To this day or back then? There's no way it grossed that.
Till this day. I think that's I think that's as far back as the early 2000s, with like re-releases and whatnot. But still, when it came out, it was very successful. It got 14 million when it first came out during its initial theatrical run.
Interesting.
With a budget of 3.6 million. That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Wait a minute. Are you reading 101 Dalmatians, the 96 movie?
No, I'm looking at the 1961.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, back in the day when films would have initial theatrical runs, they would play in a theater and it would go out and then it would go back, and a run could be for a year or two, right? Depending on how successful a film was. Because this was before chains. This is when it was like to certain theaters and they would play a run.
That's true. Yeah. Because I remember, even not that long ago, over here in my local town, there was like a theater. It was a triplex, and you could see movies there that would be like 2 months old sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It was in a chain.
And this was when this movie came out, audiences, said it was one of the best Disney movies since Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I think it was the most successful Disney film up until that point.
Ew, really?
Yeah, how time has changed.
It's so interesting because I feel like 101 Dalmatians, the animated movie, doesn't get a lot of love. And I am in that camp where I enjoy the movie, but I don't think it's not a particularly very nice looking movie. Like the colors are very drab in this movie.
Good, very well said, because also this film is rather cheap compared to other Disney movies in terms of the animation.
Yeah, in like the background design.
Yeah. Yeah, it was called they used this thing called xerography, right? And it's during the process of inking and painting traditional animation cells that they pretty much they reused a lot, and they did like an inexpensive process to it. And, nowadays, 2021, Disney Plus, high definition, restored prints and all that, we see what it looks like. We can actually see that it was kind of rather inexpensive and cheaply compared to, say, Sleeping Beauty. It was kind of cheaply made.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Of course, in 1961, I would not have seen that, but,
Right.
So, and yeah, so people love this movie. Do I think it's a masterpiece? No, but I think it's a very entertaining movie. And I think it's very family-friendly, fun. Even though there are parts of it that just make me very sad, but we'll get into the plot, which I'll say make me sad, just because I'm also totally against animal violence.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, the plot is horrific, but...
Yes.
It did give us a great villain.
It did. So, Roger Radcliffe has a dog named Pongo, and he lives in London, right? Mm-hmm. He is a bachelor. He's a struggling artist. And Pongo views Roger as his human, right? Like he is the master, and it's his house. Roger is just kind of like his human. One day, Pongo wants a mate, and he's out there, purveying the field. And
Pongo's just horny.
He's just he wants to be a daddy already.
No, he wants to be someone's daddy.
Yeah, I guess that's how I meant it. I guess I didn't say it right. Thanks, Rolando.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like he wanted to be a father.
Well, daddy. I should have said zaddy.
Yes.
So he spots Perdita from afar and her human, Anita. And lo and behold, not only do the sparks fly between Pongo and Perdita, but the sparks fly between Roger and Anita. They fall in love. They move in together. It just so happens that Anita is a fashion designer, works in fashion, and her boss is a woman named Cruella De Vil, the star.
Oh, I'm actually going to hold you on that one. It turns out I was mistaken. That's the plot for the 1996 movie. It was just it was a schoolmate friend, yeah.
So we clearly didn't rewatch 101 Dalmatians.
No, yeah, I'm going to fully admit to this. I did not rewatch 101 Dalmatians only because I'd seen it so many times.
Me too. I had it on the background and I wasn't paying attention like that because, again, I've seen it so many times, and yet those little details escape you.
It's not the prettiest movie. It just isn't.
Yeah, it isn't. Yeah.
I think it's I think out of all the Disney animated movies I saw as a kid, this one, while I like the story, the animation style for it is so kind of boring that I just don't like. And, mind you, I mean, they already have a lot against them. They're working with 101 Dalmatians. How many times can I see black and white spots everywhere?
Good point. Yeah.
It takes place in the winter when it's snowy, so you already have a white background. Even Cruella's mansion is kind of just either blue or yellow.
Yeah. No, I think so. More so, some of the most impressive animation parts were put on the characters, particularly of Cruella De Vil. They do wonderful things with her eyes. Her whole appearance is, she was based off of very particular people. She was based off of Betty Davis, Rosalind Russell,
Chanel,
and Tallulah Bankhead, old time 1940s, 50s actresses. Actually, they referenced Tallulah Bankhead in the Cruella film.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah. But, needless to say. So she very much has a style of that type of, do you know Betty Davis?
I do know Betty Davis.
You could see kind of that, what were you going to say?
I was thinking Betty White. I was going to say the Golden Girls, but no. Sorry.
Where would you know Betty Davis? Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
Right. Yes. She was
Baby Jane.
Wait, Baby Jane was the older one, right?
Mm-hmm. She was the crazy. Well, the one who could walk.
The one who had sloppier boobies.
Of all the ways to describe her, I never would have thought you were going to say that.
It's so hard to like. I mean, she's like in that getup, right, trying to relive her youth and stuff, and she like her. They're very bountiful, but they are very, very sloppy and saggy, and that's so noticeable. But I love that about her character design, to be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if she was just very well endowed lady, or if they added some stuff to like make them look so much more. But great character design.
I definitely agree. But yeah, so Cruella De Vil, she's actually a former schoolmate, just like in the book.
Just like in the book, yes. So sorry, guys, I was wrong about that.
It's totally fine. But Cruella De Vil, you know, everybody knows her, right? Very slim, tall woman with her half black, half white hair. You know, the way that they present this woman too. What are your impressions when you like revisit 101 Dalmatians?
Anorexic.
Well, more than physically, more personality-wise.
Oh, I don't know. I think. Oh, okay. Capitalist.
Exactly. Socialite, upper class. You know, because that's the thing too. Roger is a struggling artist, right? So we're trying to like we're gonna be more so like attuned to him. Mm-hmm. And then there she is with like her furs and just like almost like ignorance is bliss lifestyle. And she's like, that perspective is very much a villainous one. But at the same time, you know, she's also a very powerful woman.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just fun to see. I mean, she would never be a man.
She is the spoiled 1%, right? Because I don't even think, I think it's so funny, right? Because like, I don't remember there being like any actual description that she is a fashion designer. She's just obsessed with furs, right? And we know that she's an heiress. We know that she's rich. There's no actual, in the animated movie, as far as I remember, there is nothing that says that she herself is a fashion designer. So I think that's just something obsessed, I think that's just something that we take away from the 1996 version. But fine. In terms of capitalism, no, she is clearly a product of the excess. She's a product of that culture that sees no value in life.
Yeah.
Right? And whether that's animal, but even also though she sees no value in Roger.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, she doesn't, like anyone who doesn't benefit her. She's a bit narcissistic too.
Oh yeah, no, she's very self-involved. I personally enjoy her as a villain because I think out of all the Disney villainesses, she is the most realistic.
Absolutely.
We've all maybe encountered someone like that in our lives.
Yeah.
Not to that degree, but you know, I think we all know someone who,
rich, spoiled, self-centered asshole, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whether that's like in passing or someone who you've had to interact very briefly with, but we all have had that one person.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
And it's just interesting too, because this character would never be portrayed in this way, right? It would only be a woman.
The fur obsessed.
Because I guess men don't wear fur, I suppose.
It's not something you can't. Did you remember the episode of Seinfeld?
I don't watch Seinfeld.
Oh, man. There's a great scene where they're trying. It doesn't matter. The point is, no, furs are not something you usually associate with men. It just isn't.
It isn't.
And it's just, you know, sexist as that may be. I only think it's only more fairly recently with the hip hop culture in the last like maybe 2 decades that you've seen men start wearing furs, and I say, yeah, bring it on. I can't wait to afford a fur and just.
Well, we're also talking about Okay, we're gonna stop that right there, but.
No, I would most likely wear a faux fur because like faux fur it looks as good as real fur.
Absolutely. And you're saving lives. So
just as pricey though. So,
but if we're talking late 50s, early 60s too, like I guess for me, I would say that it's very clearly always going to be a woman. And I'm not like complaining, I'm not being like this movie is sexist. It's just interesting to see that perspective too, because I do think that, people are going to be harsher on women of that stature, women with power, women who want finer things like fur, and look at them almost in like a disgusting kind of like you're like gross kind of way instead of in an empowering way.
I think the only other way that you can see that in a male is if it was a flamboyant homosexual male.
Yes, which again, back then, no.
It would have been okay, right? Because it's just like, ugh, look at him, entitled, lazy, living off of his parents' wealth. Not because if it's a guy, the assumption would have been that he earned it himself. But if it's like a Nancy, then it would have been like, oh, that's not his.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And the same thing obviously works here with Cruella.
I think so too. And we talked a little about the movie, but what we're also really focusing on is this character of Cruella De Vil and how she's like evolved throughout the years and stuff. And I do think that this version of her is just really. There's this Hitchcock movie from 1943, right? Called
Birds.
Shadow of a Doubt. No, that's from 1963. Good guess. But the main character, there's a serial killer and who goes around killing particularly women who fit the Cruella De Vil bill, because these
there
women
were serial killers in the 1940s.
Yeah, I mean
that was a thing.
Their heyday was in the 70s and 80s, but
right.
yeah, they very much were a thing. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
but
I do know that.
What'd you think? Jack the Ripper?
Oh my God, that's right,
yeah.
Jack the Ripper.
See?
I forgot about Jack. Fair enough. Good point.
Well,
I guess the term serial killer didn't come out until what, the late 50s, early 60s?
The term, oh yeah, they didn't. Yeah, it wasn't like a thing that they were noticing was a trend, and then they didn't start actually like doing like a psychological deep dive until then, for sure.
That's right. I saw Mindhunter, people.
There you go. But so anyway, so the people that he was killing, right? The people who he thought had no reason to live were women who fit this bill, right? Because women who live so lavishly and also very independently, which as far as we know, Cruella De Vil is independent. It's not like she has a husband or anything, right? She's very much...
I don't think she has a husband.
She's like doing her own thing, and she's living rich and she's not apologizing for it. And she's confident as hell and self-centered and all this stuff. And it's like almost like a big society no. And I've seen a lot of films. I'm a person who likes to watch a lot of older films, and I've seen a lot of films from the 40s and 50s and where women like this are always either the butt of the joke or the villain. Mm-hmm. So when I see a movie like 101 Dalmatians, 1961, and the way that they portray her, it's almost, I mean, she's not that bad. She should not be kidnapping these dogs.
Well, I think for her...
that is what she shouldn't do.
She shouldn't... Okay. Why does she want to kidnap them, right? We know that she's obsessed with the furs.
Yeah.
But the other reason is because she was told no. Because Roger told her, no, you can't buy these puppies. And as an act of defiance, she goes out of her way and she says, well, guess what? I'm going to steal those puppies and I'm going to have them. They're going to be mine.
I mean, hey, if some white guy I barely know told me no, then I'm going to be like, fuck you, I'm going to steal your shit too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like here defending her, but like it sounds like I'm making a point that, so like maybe she does have a point.
Maybe.
Who is Rogers to say, no, you can't skin my puppies, Cruella?
Exactly.
I guess it's so interesting, right? Because that, at the end of the day, though, that is her crime, though, that she was trying to kill these poor, innocent puppies to make a jacket out of them.
Which is absolutely a crime, yeah.
I don't know if it's not a crime. The stealing is a crime. The making furs out of a puppies is not a crime.
I mean, yeah, like skinning live things should be considered a more serious crime.
That's fine. But like in the eye of the law, it's not, so...
Yeah, well, in the eye of, human morals, that's more important than the law.
But it's not a human morality thing, because like there is no morality in killing creatures. Like there is a morality,
creatures,
I guess. How about this?
Or just
because it just isn't. Like
you're saying not human, right? You're saying like animals and other stuff.
Like non-human, like animals. Like I don't think it's not. I don't condone the murder of like animals like in Africa, right? Like I don't condone poachers. But in the grand scheme of crimes to humanity, that falls lower on my list of things that we should really be cracking down on. Obviously, the extinction of animals is not something that we should be brushing away. I'm just saying it's just like, it's not, we have bigger shit to worry about, I guess, unfortunately. So it's just like, it doesn't, there's like, I guess for me, there's like a morality scale, and like death of other animals doesn't really scream for me. Now, her punishment should be obviously because she tried to kidnap these poor animals and stuff. And now, obviously, as like audience, we empathize with the puppies because they're puppies. They're cute little 15 Dalmatian puppies that turned into 99 Dalmatian puppies.
Yes.
She has like, Jasper and Horace has been ransacking all of London for these puppies,
Yes, her two henchmen who we will see in other iterations. I mean, well, so she's supposed to be this symbol of greed, right? And vanity and evil. But to me, she's actually the biggest thing that she's guilty of is human unkindness to animals. Like she's an exemplification of how terrible we are to animals, right? That's to me her worst thing. Like greed, okay, maybe, but like bitch knows what she wants and knows how to get it. She likes to flaunt her shit. Is that really that bad? Like we're told it is, especially as women, we're told that is, but men do it all the fucking time.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, men use the environment more than women do, right? And no one is out there punishing them. Instead, Cruella De Vil gets punished. It's so interesting. I didn't think this would turn into like a sexism discussion about
You kind of have to, though,
Cruella.
right?
But yeah,
no, I think such a villain, right?
Quote, it's unquote. A fair point.
And so that's to me like the thing that to me she's villainous about is that, but I think that she's also an exemplification of people who treat animals with disrespect and as if they're nothing, they're just commodities, right? They're means to an ends, and it's like these are living creatures, these are more than just a fur coat. Like that to me is where her evil is. Anything else about her, I mean, I think she's actually kind of funny.
Oh, she is. I mean, my favorite parts of Cruella is like her driving. Way to fit that stereotype, right?
Yes.
Of like
bad woman driver.
These women can't drive.
Yeah.
Terrifying poor Horace and Jasper. I don't know. I guess like what you were just saying just reminds me so much of like this great line from Community.
Okay.
Where it's like Britta is talking to an old racist guy who also happens to kill animals. And so she is just like, I can excuse racism, but I cannot excuse animal cruelty. Right?
I can't excuse racism, but I cannot excuse animal cruelty either.
Right. But that therein lies the kind of the thing of this is just like, I think so to your point, is Cruella really as evil as we think she is? And I am agreeing with you. I don't think she's as evil as like the world makes her out to be, at least in this film, because her only crime, as far as I'm concerned, is just stealing the Dalmatians, right? But other than that, like you know, if she had bought them, and she did offer to buy these Dalmatians, you know,
but maybe I'm missing it. But the intention is to kill, right?
Yeah, the intention is to kill, but to like,
she wants to discard of
that
them.
itself. I don't think is a crime.
He's thinking more so like actually Law and Order.
Yeah, I think it's horrible, and I would not. I would be like, ugh, that's disgusting. How could you wear a jacket made out of Dalmatians? But then I'd probably, I'd forget about it like moments later.
But that's the problem.
Is that the problem, though?
Yeah, it is, because then because we should be judged then by the things that when good men just sit by and let things happen and let the innocent, things that can't defend itself, things that can't fight for itself, and let those things be destroyed for whatever greed or whatever malintent. What does it say about us, too? When we decide like the value of some creature should be over another creature or ourselves, what does it say about us? Because then it'll be judged. Then it's like, okay, well, this person doesn't meet a certain kind of standard, then they're not as valuable as this other person.
Yeah.
Oh, I think when it goes into humanity, right?
But it can easily. It becomes a slippery slope when we start talking like this.
I guess.
Absolutely. And that to me is the only evil that she is actually guilty of, and that's the one thing that like when you look at her, you're clearly looking at someone who they're just like, oh, she's a greedy, vain person. And greed obviously is a deadly sin, right? I do not advocate for greed, but at the same time, it's like, no, more so her disregard for life. Not just human, like animal life, is why she's evil.
Well, we do know that she has a disregard for human life based off of the way that she treats Horace and Jasper.
Well, I mean, I don't know if she has a disregard for human life, but they're idiots. And
she was 101 die to like make sure she gets these puppies.
At what part, remind me?
When she was recklessly driving.
Oh yeah, well I mean, come on, we've all recklessly drove before. I mean, you know.
Of course, I think that becomes a blatant disregard for life. Also,
not in the sense where we're out to like kill the people in our car.
Fine.
Sometimes you just want something, and it gets the best of you. I don't know if she was wanting to kill those guys.
Okay,
but I'm gonna defend her there, and I actually am gonna probably defend the character of Cruella De Vil more than I should. Okay. But I thought it was interesting enough for us to talk about, right? 1961, this portrayal of a villain who meets this bill, but also it's a woman. And I think that it's a lot easier to get that across, especially from a 1961 standpoint, to judge a woman like that. Whereas like nowadays, which is probably why Cruella was made into a freaking film, but this person would be actually more empowered, except for their cruelty to animals, which is the thing I don't advocate.
Right. I think, yes. I'll also admit this. I'm playing devil's advocate here because otherwise would we have a podcast? But
exactly.
I obviously am not down with Cruella's intent here to kill 101 Dalmatians to make a fur coat. Mm-hmm. I just think if we're going to put this lens of just like, well, what are her true crimes? Well, that's what I say. It's just like, well, her true crime here is just that she's a thief.
Yeah.
And she should be punished. And let's be real, what would the punishment be for an heiress? It'd probably be like a slap on the wrist. She should have just paid the legal fee.
This is true, right?
And they kept the 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah, or she should have donated to animal shelters or something. So,
or she could have done that. Of course, that would have been, there you go. I'm sure that would have been part of her punishment.
Yeah. But, maybe we should move on to the next iteration because everything that we say about Cruella De Vil just kind of gets intensified by 1,000. Of
course, yes, because Cruella goes from being kind of just like a greedy heiress to kind of just being, now she is let's be real, in the 1996 version, she's a boss bitch.
She's a boss, yes.
She's also a bitch boss. She's
yes. Hey, people think that Disney's been doing live action remakes of their films like only recently.
Only recently?
Nope, they've been doing it since the 90s.
Yeah, this is a good reminder of that it's just like, oh no, Disney has been trying to really, really harp on nostalgia forever.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1996. This movie, I had mentioned that we were going to be talking about this a couple episodes back because it was directed by Stephen Herrick, who directed The Mighty Ducks. So
oh, look at that.
Yeah, just in a couple episodes ago, I was like, we're going to be talking about this soon. And here we are. So maybe, you recently listened to that and heard me say that. But any hoodle, 1996, Stephen Herrick's 101 Dalmatians, starring Glenn Close.
Yes.
Now, it's so funny, too, because Glenn Close, I think that this woman is so good at overplaying characters. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
This woman, she has been on the stage and stuff, but like, oh my gosh, she should live and breathe on the stage because I would love, when Broadway finally opens up and if she ever comes back, I'm going to get my ass to see her because wow, what a theatrical actress. I mean, let's think about some of her most iconic roles. What do you know Glenn Close from?
What's that movie that she did? Hang on. I know that I'm terrible with names, guys. I apologize. But the one Indecent Proposal.
No.
I think you're thinking of Fatal Attraction.
Oh, what? She's in Fatal Attraction? You're right. Yes.
That's Demi Moore.
Indecent Proposal is Demi Moore. Yeah, he's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Ed Harrison.
Okay. Which one is this one?
Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction was Michael Douglas.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Fine, that movie.
I won't be ignored, Dan. That one. No.
I've never heard. No.
You never. That's the famous line where he has an affair with her, but then all of a sudden she's like obsessed with him, and he's like, "What are you doing to me?" She's like, "Well, you won't return my calls. I won't be ignored, Dan."
Oh, now that rings a bell. Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Did she win an Oscar for that one or no? Wasn't that like crazy white woman?
She got nominations.
Okay, good for her.
She did, yeah. Yeah, good for her.
And then I was watching also Damages on FX a while back.
Wow. So it's interesting because, like, she's not in so many like greatest movies of all time or anything like that, but like the movies that she's in or the TV shows that she's in, she's known for her roles in them, you know? Like she's someone who like just stands out because of her acting, not so much because of her movies.
Oh my god, of course she was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Was she?
Yeah, she is head of the Nova Corps, right? Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, she's known for also portraying one of my favorite films of all time is 1950s Sunset Boulevard. The character of Norma Desmond to me is one probably top 5 greatest movie characters ever. They made a stage musical out of it, and she was in this. She revived her role in the stage musical recently. So she did it in the 90s, and then she revived the role because she was so good in it. And like her as Norma Desmond, and you know who Norma Desmond is, or no? You never seen Sunset Boulevard?
No, I have not.
It's one of the greatest fucking movies of all time. You should watch it. But that's the actress that says, "All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up." You know that line?
Yes.
See? And also, I am big. It's the pictures that got small. So this is the type of character that Glenn Close was playing. I mean, come on. Very just theatrical and all that. So, of course, if you're going to do a live-action adaptation of 100 Dalmatians, who's going to play Cruella De Vil? This woman is.
Now, was this movie written with her in mind? Like, is this one of those projects that was kind of developed with, like, her... Like, she really wanted this role, and she, like, went out of her way to get it?
She actually... Sigourney Weaver was offered the role before her.
No way. Oh, God has punished us by not giving us a Sigourney Weaver performance of Cruella
De Vil. They're almost like one and the same. Well, actually, I'm going to even do you up one. There's an actress that you probably won't know from name, but you'll know if I tell you what she's in. Her name is Kathy Moriarty. And she did a screen test for it, right? And she almost got the part, but she was deemed too frightening as Cruella De Vil. Now, Kathy Moriarty, you ever see the movie Casper?
Yeah.
The villain?
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, she would have been good.
She would have been a good Cruella, right?
A little young.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It would have been a younger Cruella De Vil. Not that that's fine, I guess, but like, I don't...
Well, Glenn Close wasn't that much... She was only in like her 50s, maybe even... Yeah, 50s when she did this role, so, you know.
Yeah, but like the other lady was like, what, in her 30s?
Kathy Moriarty? No.
She looked like she was in her 30s in Casper's. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay, maybe she was in her 30s. I don't know. I don't know her exact age off the top of my head, but
yeah, all right.
Late
Sigourney
30s,
Weaver,
early 40s.
That would have been an interesting choice because I feel like that could have gone either wonderfully well or cringily bad. I feel like, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I love Sigourney Weaver. I don't know if she has the how do I say, like, I don't know. There's like a screw loose here when like Glenn Close takes
absolutely
on the role of
I agree with you.
Cruella.
When you see the heights that she brought this character up to, it's hard for you to think of how anybody else would have done it because she amped it up. You know, she pretty much turned this all the way up to 11.
Have you seen the pictures of her on the red carpet for the premiere?
No.
She came as Cruella De Vil.
Did she really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And I saw on Twitter like a comparison of like, this is Emma Stone on her premiere. And it's just like her kind of dressing like, not even like red carpet clothes. It was just like everyday clothes almost. Mm-hmm. This is Glenn Close. And I tweeted that. I was just like, ugh. Emma Stone could never.
Wow.
This is just obviously before I even saw Cruella, but I'm just saying, it's just like, how, come on, like fucking Glenn Close like came to the premiere as Cruella De Vil.
She must have loved playing this role.
I mean, the fashion, you know, just like those looks that she was coming out with. Those were outfits on top of outfits.
Oh yeah,
just
and then hair,
with, like nails on them, and the hair pieces. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this has got to be a fun ass role to play too. You know, I think that Glenn Close was actually able to see a lot of redeeming qualities in Cruella because at the end of the day, I think she actually kind of played her with a lot of compassion.
I agree. Yes.
You know, plot wise, this 1986 version, it's a very faithful adaptation. Except that to the animation film. But the dogs in this one, they decided that, you know, it was the 90s, so they probably couldn't figure out a way for like the dogs to talk, right? Even though they were doing it in Look Who's Talking Now.
And what's it called? Homeward Bound.
Their mouths were moving? I never saw Homeward Bound. So
Their mouths weren't moving, and that's fine.
Oh, well, they could have.
But the mouths were moving. The mouths were moving in Look Who's Talking.
There you go. See, so
yeah.
I guess Disney would have wanted their mouths to move, and that's why
Disney would have been like, if their mouths don't move, they don't talk.
Yeah,
that's it.
Haha.
The mouse. Yeah.
The mouse is spoken. But yeah, so that's the only difference, really, is that with a couple of different, Roger's a video game designer,
Roger's
Anita's
a video game designer.
fish. Yeah, but those things don't matter to the overall plot of like the fact that these puppies get stolen. They don't talk.
Yes.
So it's actually pretty impressive to see how well trained these dogs are, and any like Homeward Bound and Look Who's Talking Now.
Yeah. Well, did you ever see the behind the scenes? Like, if you had Disney Channel back then, like, it was just nonstop behind the scenes footage of 101 Dalmatians, and like
wow, no, I never watched Disney
I think they
Channel
had
that.
like on call, like at any given time, like 40 actual Dalmatians.
Wow,
something
really?
like that, like, because they were like, a lot of them, they were duplicated like using CGI, but for the most part, like, they were like 40 trained Dalmatians and stuff, and
wow,
and stuff.
That's
We really got
interesting.
ahead of ourselves. We got lost in the weeds. Should we talk about like a little more history here, or
we could. Well, so I mean,
is there history? I thought she got nominated for an Oscar for her role as Glenn Close. I was wrong.
for her role as Glenn Close.
I'm sorry. For her role as Cruella De Vil.
History wise, I mean, other than like who cast it, the fact that there was a sequel because the film did so well.
Yeah, there was a sequel. Terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
102 Dalmatians is not. That's it. I watched it once. And it was just like never again.
Yeah.
Not 101 Dalmatians though. That one I've seen it many times. That's a fun movie to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but no, I've never. Yeah, the sequel I saw once in theaters and that was it. Actually, did you know that animal rights organizations protested the film's release?
I'm sure, because there were a lot of animals that were used in the filming of this movie, and I'm sure
There
they
was
weren't
some
treated
stuff.
the best.
Yeah, so that would be interesting.
You know what? You gave us 101 Dalmatians, Disney, so I forgive. I can forgive animal cruelty, but I draw the line at bad movies.
Yeah, no, I could forgive bad movies, but I draw the line at animal cruelty. So the thing about this film is that even though it's a pretty faithful adaptation, they realize that, the star here is Cruella, and they kind of do put her more up in front. So again, she's not just some random friend who comes visiting Anita. She is a fashion designer, and Anita works for her, right?
Right.
So there's more like, the stakes are higher because of this.
Yeah.
There's more to
and
lose
Anita
and
plants
gain.
the ideas.
She does. Mm-hmm.
Anita's the one who makes a spotted jacket.
Yeah.
And then Cruella was just like, oh, I love that idea. Oh my God, it'd be like I'm wearing a dog.
And laughs, yeah.
Woof, woof.
Yeah, it's so theatrical. You gotta
She's so
see
fucking insane, and I love it.
Yeah, this woman has lost her mind. But also at the end of the day, like this she's not just some greedy, vain person. Like this is her job now,
Well, now we're seeing true capitalism here, right? Mm-hmm. And this is an interesting study, because even early on in that scene, one of the things that we see here, which I think I wanted to ask you about it, right? Mm-hmm. Was how do they play off Cruella as like kind of cold evil? All she cares about is her business and like her fashion. And then you have Anita, who is ready to get, Cruella says, "You're very talented, my dear." And she's just like, you have what it takes to come to the top. And Anita's like, well, I'm willing to walk away if I find the right man and settle down for a family. And then Cruella's just like, oh, I've seen so many good women get wasted on marriage. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, right? Because I've even rewatching that scene, I was just like, interesting. I don't know if they would do that in 2021, because like that's because is Cruella really saying anything here that's inherently evil?
Absolutely.
She's saying girl boss shit.
Yeah.
She's saying I am woman, hear me roar.
Absolutely.
And if men have a problem with it, oh fucking well.
Yeah. Anita in this movie is so meek, and like her motivations, that's great. You fall in love and stuff like that. But it's like the movie takes her side in the sense where it's like this is what, a good person wants. And like a bad person would be in the world of Cruella, so it's almost like the lines are drawn. Which side are you on, Anita's or Cruella's? And it's really unfair. This was
almost The Devil Wears Prada before The Devil Wears Prada, because when you're rewatching Devil Wears Prada, it's just like, well, how is Meryl Streep's character the bad guy here? Like, if anyone's the bad guy, it's her boyfriend.
Oh my God, yeah. And her friends are not good friends.
I can forgive the friends, not the boyfriend.
The boyfriend was crap. But even then, they were all just like not that understanding.
No, they're not. It's just like she has this opportunity of a lifetime and she wants to throw it out to like what, get grilled cheese from her sous chef boyfriend. Like,
seriously. Yeah, she should have dumped both Meryl Streep's character, Miranda Priestly, and her boyfriend. Because she didn't need any of them.
She should have kept Miranda Priestly.
She didn't need Miranda Priestly after that.
She needed.
You think she needed her?
Miranda Priestly will open doors. And obviously we see that at the end being the case.
She did open doors. That's why she got what she wanted out of her.
But the point here is that Cruella De Vil was Miranda Priestly before Miranda Priestly existed.
Absolutely.
Cruella De Vil ran so Miranda Priestly can walk in those products.
Well, so Devil Wears Prada came out exactly 10 years after 101 Dalmatians. But again, women in that role are still being looked at as a villain. Just, I guess... not as bad. I don't know. Would you say who's worse? Who would you rather work for, Cruella De Vil in the 1996 one or Miranda Priestly?
That's a good question. Ooh, I think I would rather work for Cruella De Vil because she is cool with like just smoking in front of. She seems like a much more unhinged boss, and I feel like that just brings way more drama.
Absolutely. Oh my God. There's like that one scene where she's like, I think she's in her office or she's at home, but like she is laughing so much that she almost does like a dance out of it, and she like puts her back all the way. And
this is in her home. Yeah. Talk again. Great.
So
it's just
theatrical.
Like, what a great visual too. That is, as the camera's panning in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Glenn Close, is one hell of a drag queen at the end of the day, because she knows how to wear an outfit and work it and oversell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she lets what she's wearing and stuff do its job, and she just gets lost in a character. And I think that's why, like, did you watch Drag Race UK in season 2? Oh, okay. Well, there is this one character who I think was...
I'm an American, and I won't watch these other countries' drag queens. But they should do an Drag Race International, where all the winners, like some of the winners from each country, compete.
I apologize.
You know how like American Idol had like the World Idol?
Yeah, no, I do. I just want to apologize to our non-American listeners for Rolando's comments right there. Those views are not reflected by me as well.
Oh, I know. And you know what? I do apologize also, because you guys actually listen a lot, our non-American audiences.
Yeah,
so I apologize. When your country
I
gets
apologize for alienating you.
Sorry.
Our
saying you don't
most
matter.
popular viewers.
The Trump came out of me. I'm so sorry.
Oh, please don't say that.
So she would make a magnificent drag queen if she was, a man. That's all I'm saying. I think she's like you almost can't say it enough. And if you haven't seen this movie, you just got to watch it, because watch theatricality to the next level. And if you're not a fan of theatricality or overdoing it and exaggeration and stuff, probably don't watch it, because then you just won't appreciate it. It's really good for that. It's campy. It's kitschy, it's all those things.
Yeah, this movie for sure is kitschy. And the only thing I think my least favorite part about this movie is probably the ending, to be honest. Like how Cruella De Vil gets captured and stuff. Yeah. With these like gimmicks that the puppies all put together. It just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like the first 2/3 of this movie are so great, but then once like the writers have to figure out how to get these puppies in a realistic manner outside free, it's just kind of where the movie derails and it becomes less about, because that's also, it becomes more about this, even the small CGI puppies, right? Yeah. Like you can forget that Lucky sliding down the air vent or whatever, right? And that mediocre CGI. And that's when it becomes the puppy show, not the Cruella De Vil show. And I think for that the movie suffers.
I absolutely agree. And then at the end of the day, it's a children's movie, and they have to tie up all these loose ends and whatnot. So the movie just kind of like catches up in that way to itself. Everything leading up to it though is pretty entertaining, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the other performances in the movie: Jeff Daniels, he is Roger. I don't know who plays Anita. Is she anyone famous?
Yeah,
is she the mom in The Parent Trap?
I don't know if she was. That's Jolie Richardson.
Okay, I don't know. Name doesn't sound familiar. But Hugh Laurie, Dr. House, is
in
Jasper.
That, yeah. Arthur Weasley is also in it. Jolie Richardson is in The Patriot. She's in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. She's in this Star series, The Rook.
Oh, was she in The Rook?
Mm-hmm.
We just read The Rook.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, for outside of the podcast, something we did.
Yes. Yeah, no, so just some interesting performances overall in this movie. Yeah, this is a fun watch and stuff. I mean, even rewatching it, it's such an over-the-top and campy film that you're left to wonder. It's just like, okay. All right. I mean, again, full disclosure, guys, you know how I usually do these things. I see them in reverse. So when it comes to rewatching them, I rewatched in reverse order. I saw Cruella, and then I saw this one. And I will say that was a smart choice on my end, because if I had rewatched 101 Dalmatians prior to watching Cruella, it might have skewed me one way. But watching it with kind of freshish eyes, I was able to be a little more objective in my opinion. So I think this is a natural segue to talk about Cruella.
Definitely. And it also, I will say, it benefited you because Cruella is technically a prequel to the 1996 101 Dalmatians.
Prequel-ish, I guess. Anita's not black.
I mean,
but...
well, let's say race doesn't matter in this way.
All right, fine. Yeah. All right, fine. We could. Yeah, fine. Let's pretend this is a world where,
yeah, it's more so just the characters and their roles and whatnot.
Sure.
And then 1996, it was the 90s, right? So of course this prequel that took place in the 70s would lead up to this and whatnot. Okay, and also Glenn Close is a producer of the film.
Was she really?
Yep.
You didn't
see her name in the credits?
I didn't. I can't say that I was looking around for her credits there.
Well, I mean, I saw it, so I looked it up, and she is actually she's a producer on this.
But is it like a real thing, or is it kind of how Christopher Nolan is producer of Justice League? But
I don't think I don't know if it's executive producer, because obviously executive producer doesn't really mean shit. Let's
in film, let me get this. In TV, it means a lot, but not in film.
Not in film. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, I just want because I feel like sometimes we have audiences out there that aren't in the industry, and that can be. I think that's always confusing. But if you were talking about television, executive director, executive producer, it's usually the head writer on a TV show.
Okay. All right. Yeah, she is an executive producer.
Called it.
Yeah. Whatever. Okay.
Which is fine. Look, did they need Glenn Close's, what's the word? I wanted to use a SAT word, but I forgot already. But did they need her stank all over this movie? Obviously, I don't think that's not the right term, but I don't know. I don't think so. But I also have opinions on this movie overall, so I actually can't wait to talk about this because, Nicole, I had texted you.
You did.
Prior to you watching the movie. And I'm going to be upfront. I said, it's just I'm surprised at how much I'm enjoying this movie more so than I thought I would. And then a mere 12 hours later, you posted a story on our Instagram page and you were like,
our reaction to having to watch this movie.
And it was a scene from Cruella.
Yeah. And she was like, really? I thought it was funny. It. What can I say?
It was funny. But it also hurt my feelings because I'm just oh, I see.
It was not a personal attack on you, Rolando. I guarantee you that. Yeah, so lots to say about this one, okay? I'm going to say something up front. You know how the last few episodes of, 2021 for this podcast, I've been saying, thank God I didn't go to the movies and see this and waste the money?
Yeah.
I actually would have loved to have seen this in the theater.
Oh, okay. All right. We're on the same boat on that one. Yeah. That was my takeaway leaving my living room. But when the movie ended, I'm just if I had paid and gone to see this in movie theaters, I actually would have been an entertaining night. I would have laughed saying, satisfied.
Absolutely. Yeah. We paid as much as we did, pretty much for a movie theater ticket.
Less. So. We paid $10 each.
Yeah. And well, yeah, with popcorn, it would have definitely been an expensive night, but still, it would have actually been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm just going to say that up front. And I'm just going to also say that the director of this film, his name is Craig Gillespie or whatever.
Giuseppe?
Gillespie. Giuseppe.
I thought it was Giuseppe. Is it not Giuseppe?
I'm pretty sure it's Gillespie. It's like Dizzy Gillespie.
Okay.
He's a film and commercial and music video director, and that really comes across in this. Mm-hmm. He also directed I, Tonya.
Oh, okay.
And that was recently one of the films he did. Fright Night.
And Lars and the Real
Lars
Girl.
and the Real Girl. Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. He looks like the drag queen judge who used to get in fights with
Santino Rice?
Yes, Santino Rice. You don't see it?
Okay, I could kind of see it. Yeah. Okay.
So drag queen call outs this episode.
Yeah, seriously. It's the first episode of Pride Month.
Oh my God! How could we forget Pride?
Happy
Month,
Pride, guys!
Happy Pride! Wow, we're bad gays.
No, we're not. We just forgot. We're thinking about Cruella, who's very gay. Okay, cut us some slack.
She is quite the gay icon. I agree.
Yes, she is, especially with this film. Okay, so I just want to say that too about Craig Gillespie, because this film is just like style over substance 100%. Whether or not that's a bad thing, we'll discuss. But this is such a stylistic film.
This movie is stylistic, but I actually appreciate how stylistic it was, because I think parts of it for me felt a little fresher than I thought a Disney movie would be.
Overall I liked it, but I do have a lot of complaints. But before we get into that, Rolando, can you just give us a summary of what Cruella is about?
All right, I'm just gonna major spoiler alerts here because obviously, but if you've been on Twitter or Tumblr, one of the big reveals from Cruella is like very, very early in the movie, Cruella loses her mom in a very, very horrific way. Her mom is thrown off a cliff by Dalmatians, and it's like a visually and almost like shocking thing to happen in a Disney movie in the first 10 minutes. So that's the setup. Cruella's mom is murdered by Dalmatians, and that will kick off Cruella's like cruel revenge against the Dalmatians, like in X amount of years. No, in reality, what happens is Cruella's mom dies, and Cruella lives with his guilt because she believes that she is responsible for her mother's death. And now she is in London, and she's kind of like an orphan, and she meets up with Jasper and Horace. And hang on, give me a second. What's Nico doing? Nico! And my puppy is begging for a skinning.
Aww.
Okay, yeah. So she finds these two other orphans, Jasper and Horace, and the three become con artists in London. And Jasper kind of has some feelings for Cruella, or Estella as her real name is, and kind of encourages her to take a job in fashion, which she's always had like a natural knack for. And while working for a department store, she ends up drunkenly landing a job with the Baroness, who is one of London's hot designers. And it will kick off a series of events that will end with revenge, murder, and mystery.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'm trying to I don't want to spoil too much, to be honest. So
no, and I appreciate that. You know, the one thing though I will say that the movie doesn't really explain is why she will kill Dalmatians.
Why?
It explains all these other things about Cruella De Vil, but yet it doesn't explain her animal cruelty at all.
But how does it not? Like, Dalmatians
because first of all,
mom.
she has a very loving relationship, at least in the beginning, with her one dog.
Yes.
And the dogs, after a while, they like are a factor in it, but like that's not her motivation, right? It's not the motivation like I'm gonna get those dogs. Like, no, I'm gonna get that woman. So it's just like that was a little uneven, where it was like, okay, Dalmatians were sort of kind of the reason that your mother died, but not really. And then they don't play a part in the rest of the film. Like, you actually end up gifting them to Roger and Anita.
Wow, spoiler. Okay,
sorry.
So there you go. That's the other spoiler, guys.
Sorry, spoiler.
She gives Roger and Anita, who in the future will meet one day and like have kids of their own and like have the puppies. But she gives them both a puppy from her Dalmatian litter, and that would be Pongo and Perdita. And here's another spoiler, guys. The Dalmatians, the original 15 Dalmatians from 101 Dalmatians, are products of incest.
Yeah, is that disgusting? When that scene happened, I was like, are you kidding me? Really? Which is a mid-credit scene. It's like, you know, the credits roll for a bit and then that scene plays and it goes back to the credits.
Yeah.
So it's not really spoiling that much, but
I will agree with you in terms of like I don't. Did you really need an explanation as to why Cruella De Vil is going to want to kill 101 Dalmatians though down the line? Did you think that this movie was going to explain that at all?
I think that was the only thing that maybe needed explaining, why she was so careless towards animals.
Oh, fine. That might be the case, but like that's not at all what I was expecting. I was not to be honest, this movie had more Dalmatians than I was expecting. Because I really thought we were just going to watch a woman just become evil, which we kind of did sort of way, right?
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of. So, I mean, that's the weird thing. All right. I think this is where we have the inherent problem of prequels, where we know what's going to happen. So on some level, there isn't like any real stakes. We know Cruella will become, we know that Estella will become Cruella De Vil, and we know that at the end of the day, she's going to be the fashion designer, and we know that she's going to, love furs. So I don't know. That's a one issue I think that this movie presents itself. Whether or not we need an explanation as to why she wants to kill those 101 Dalmatians or why she's like cruel to animals, I don't know. But like, I also don't think it's like it's not relevant because like, we're just watching,
she doesn't even talk about her fondness for furs at all in this movie. And furs,
this is true, but she's also been like a vagabond.
Yeah, I guess I just was expecting something that could be like, at least this is the starting point as to who she becomes 20 years later. There was literally, in that respect, nothing given to me.
Well, people change in 20 years. Like, I don't think.
But if you're going to show me an origin story or a prequel, then you're at least going to want to show me that, right? Because that's why I'm watching the damn movie.
Well, we saw how she became the fashionista that she is.
Which is also very much in tune with the 1996 version, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So in terms of it, and that's the thing too, it's all depends on how you look at Cruella, right? What is the thing that is so bad about her? To me, it's her animal cruelty. Where like the rest of the movie is just telling me how she got to be so goddamn fabulous.
Right.
Like not necessarily evil. I mean, yeah, she doesn't have as much as a regard for other people because she's very, she is vain, right? She doesn't like treat people with respect like other people do, but like, whatever.
No, I mean, I agree with you, right? That might be ultimately where this movie is confusing for me because I, on some level, even while watching it, I just couldn't get down with Cruella because it's like, but you're going to try to kill 101 Dalmatians. So I can't in good conscience support you. But I guess vaya con Dios on your revenge mission, right? Because sure.
And that's also why I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's also why I guess that's a part of my beef is that that's also the thing that I can't get down with you. I can't get down with you because you're going to want to skin these and kill these puppies, right? And yet this movie's ignoring that you're going to do that. Like it's not even harping to it. Continue. Yeah,
and like I said, it's just like I don't think for me that is her ultimate crime. Again, and all right. I think in this movie they did a really good job of kind of creating an anti-hero. They really did. I found myself, very much enamored with Emma Stone. Oh, Emma Stone.
That's actually her real name. Her real name is Emily Stone. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Look at that. So I was kind of right. But Emma Stone's performance actually won me over. I will be very upfront. I thought that was wrong casting when I first heard about it. Right. But she really won me over. And that is partly because of her performance, but I think also because it was a good script. It was just like, we beat by beat, we saw what led her to become Cruella. And based on what we saw in the script and in the movie, I think her actions are justified.
That's interesting. I didn't think that the script was that good. I thought it was an okay script. I thought it was pretty predictable.
Interesting. All right, spoiler. Did you expect the Baroness to be her mom?
Yeah.
I thought Baroness was going to be her grandma.
Oh, well, that's just because I guess you think Emma Thompson looks way older than she really is. But no, of course I was expecting her to be the mom.
I expected, because like I thought the Baroness killed her own daughter. I was just like, well, that's cruel.
I
right?
see. Okay.
And I mean, I think I thought that Disney really wanted to be just like, you think that Cruella's bad? Look at the Baroness. She killed her own daughter, but it didn't go that far.
Obviously, the meeting that took place in which the mother, the not mother, dies was significant and had to have been revealed later on. And then that heirloom had to, it's like, plot points and all this stuff. Like something was delivered, something was planted. I was just waiting for it to be delivered. So for me, it was like, oh, she'll probably be related to her somehow or something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I saw that. I mean, I don't know. I don't disagree with you. I think the script you're right. It wasn't the most wild script. But it's like for Disney, I think it felt fresh.
Well, no, what I thought felt fresh was the filmmaking, right? So the story is meh, but the filmmaker Craig Gillespie just stylized the hell out of it.
Yeah. He did.
So some complaints from me are that one song ends and another starts, right? It's like there's never a moment of goddamn silence in this movie, and it's just constantly music to the point where it's almost like a little too much like a music video.
And it's kind of a trend that's going on now. Ever since
it is
Guardians
a
of the
trend.
Galaxy, it is a trend. But I actually like the music selection. I don't know if it was appropriate for the time. That's the one thing I don't know how historically accurate the music was, but okay.
Well, so she said that, she was like 1964. That's when she was a youngling. 10 years later, it was 1974. So there was a lot of 60s feeling vibes going on for 1974.
Right. I thought that was confusing. I'm just like, why are they playing Time of the Season? This is a 70s movie. Shouldn't it be something else?
Yeah.
Like that's a very 60s era song, and it usually gets played when you're talking about the 60s.
But then it caught up with it, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was like punk rock, right? So one of
the grunge scene, which I don't think.
No, punk rock, very different.
Oh, whatever. Different. I don't know.
Well, punk is a very important genre too, because it was not only in music, it was in fashion, right? And punk was a very anti-establishment, anti-social norms kind of movement, which is why I really like it as an art form, or as a I like it as an art movement, I should say. One of my absolute favorite songs was used in this movie, which is I Want to Be Your Dog, which, dog, 101 Dalmatians. I didn't actually realize the tie-in. But like when she has that, show at Regent's Park. And then like they're playing like the guitar and stuff, which is like a little like.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was ridiculous. Like Jasper knows how to play guitar. Yeah. Like in what world does Jasper know how to play guitar?
Horace,
because he's been a vagabond his whole life. Like where did he get training?
Exactly, but in the hands of that filmmaker,
it's the perfect time to pick up the guitar when you're
and just like all of a sudden like be able to put on a show like that.
Well, that's why I was gonna say in the hands of this filmmaker, though, even though it's absolutely ludicrous, I don't necessarily mind it because I actually enjoy the theatricality of it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, I agree.
So that's the thing, but then that's when it caught up with the punk rock era, I guess, and her meeting with like some of those people around England and whatnot. It got somewhere lost between a punk rock England and a mod in England, like mod late 60s England.
You're speaking in tongues to me.
You don't know what mod is? MOD?
I know mod style.
Yeah, and that's another art movement.
Okay.
And fashion is art at the end of the day.
Of course.
So mod, and then it went from mod to pretty much punk as the most prolific ones. I guess for me, the music, like again, kind of confusing and kind of excessive, but overall, some of those scenes worked incredibly well. I think most of the scenes of her fashion statements as Cruella were wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they were. I wanted more.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God! Like her coming out of the trash thing was spectacular.
That might have been my favorite like review because I thought it was just gonna be like she's dumped trash and it was just like okay cool, but then she comes out with a dress that's in the trash of all her previous gowns are like her train like that was just like it felt very
that was Drag Race.
It was. I think it was a very early Lady Gaga. Like all like this is, and that's honestly this is the one thing I had is like Emma Stone was good, but man, how much better would this movie have been if it was Lady Gaga? Right?
I'm a little on the fence with that. I can't 100% back you up.
Lady Gaga would have been great, and Lady Gaga. They would have had her with like the designer also would have been working with her to like kind of bring her style into this. It would have been so good. It would have been. You know what? Who was the fashion designer for this one? Do we know?
Let's look it up.
Because like Jean-Paul Gaultier was the stylist for The Fifth Element. I think that movie had such amazing fashion. This movie actually had great fashion, not to the level of Jean-Paul Gaultier, but I'm just curious as to who it was, because I actually think the styles that they brought here were pretty good.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's very much rooted in the drag community. And that's something that like Lady Gaga is also very inspired by. So I think that you and I are kind of saying the same thing, but in different ways. Let's see. I'm looking up the fashion costume.
Let me see.
Okay, costume design by Jenny Beavan.
Jenny Beavan. I don't know who she. Okay, so they didn't. Okay, but she did the style.
She's been doing costume design since the 80s. For films.
All right, yeah. So that's the one thing. All right, great. I mean, she has a good eye for fashion. If you want to elevate this movie, they should have really had a fashion designer be the costume designer to really design those fashion for. And this movie, But again.
Well,
good job,
I thought that
Jenny
was an
Beavan.
element that really worked, though. I didn't think it was something that they needed to improve.
It did,
on.
but I also feel at the same time, though, there could have been. I feel like maybe because I do enjoy. I used to do before working in health. I actually used to do this thing called fashion theater, which was actual runways and like interviewing models and like kind of behind the scenes shit. And like fashion for like runway shows, it's so cool and stuff. And like sometimes I think the costumes here look just like that. Costumes, not necessarily always fashion, not dresses per se.
Interesting. Okay.
I think the dress that she wore with the trash, that felt like an actual dress. That felt like that had like a vision to it, but they didn't all translate that well. However, those fashion sequences were top notch. I think that's what made this movie feel also so fresh.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of my favorite sequences with the music and everything was when we first meet the Baroness. I mean, there's this great shot of her glasses and when she's looking at the display that Cruella did when she was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And then she walks in and with the music and stuff. That was one of the times where, editing, filming, acting. And then we should talk about acting. All the elements just worked together really well. And you were in it, right? You're like, who the fuck is this character? Introduction to the Baroness. What a character. Played to perfection by Emma Thompson, who I think even probably took a little thing from Glenn Close since, at the end of the day, they're related. I do think that this film had a lot of really good performances, which is also why this film felt so fresh.
Yes.
Emma Thompson as the Baroness was fantastic. But even down to, Horace and Jasper. They had so much. They were so great. Good. Yeah, they were funny. Horace was funny. They had a lot of heart to them. Mm-hmm. Right. Because they're always just a bunch of bumbling idiots, or they're just like really, sometimes they're portrayed as the bad guys, like in 1996.
Right. Correct.
These guys were actually, they kind of were victims, of Cruella's game.
They were Cruella's found family.
Mm-hmm. And, there's definitely something going on between her and Jasper.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like that.
That was between Estella and Jasper, not Cruella.
I mean, even then, it's still like, I feel like it's just like,
But they didn't do anything with it. So, I mean, why worry about it? I mean, you can tell that he did have some
feelings
for her, and he cared very much about her.
That's why he was sticked around by her so much, because he loved her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I mean...
And he wanted her to fulfill her dreams, which led to this whole situation in the first place.
I mean, they didn't kiss, right? I don't remember them kissing.
No,
yeah.
No.
All right,
they don't need to. They don't. No,
I know. I'm saying, but I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
And I actually quite liked Horace.
Can we talk about the little Chihuahua?
Yes,
Wink?
the doggies. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so I was actually at first I was getting upset with the movie because very early on the dog was CGI at certain points. The dogs were CGI-ish.
Yes,
and
they
I was
were.
just like,
yes.
oh, this is why are they going this route? But thank God, I guess that was only when it was with the kids acting, because like I guess Disney was just like, all right, we can't rely on child acting and like dogs, so it's just like one or the other, and they picked the dog. They picked the child in the instance, like baby Cruella. But when the dogs were like on camera, they were so. I mean, this is good use of dogs here. Like like the Chihuahua dressed up as a little rodent was the most adorable thing I've ever seen.
That was so funny.
And
that whole scene was so funny.
Yeah, and they used that joke, I think, the right amount. Like that was a joke that could have gotten old super fast, but used it just enough where it kept me laughing.
I definitely would agree. Yeah, I loved those dogs too, and they actually they kind of broke my heart, when she was almost perished in the fire.
Yes.
And, and just I also just don't like, seeing animals in any sort of negative predicament.
It's just like, fuck Cruella, the dogs. Who's going to save
Absolutely.
them?
No, I'm that type of person who humans can die left and right, but the moment an animal dies, I'm tears. Because
and it's also
an
interesting thing too in that scene is because the dogs were trying to save her.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and they were so helpless, but they were trying.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
But and I always feel like this is the problem with prequels, right? When you have an established universe and established characters, and then you try to create the origin story much later on, but you're fitting the origin story within the time and our perspective of now we know that, villains are not just born, they're made.
Yeah.
There's a process, and it's mostly the process of a broken-hearted person who becomes this, like we've seen in Wicked. Wicked is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
But then it never fits. The prequel, the character that we see in the prequel never fits who he or she is going to become in the future. There's something always it's always that piece, that two pieces that connect together, but it
doesn't explain everything.
Right. Not right. And I liked Cruella. I love this movie because I just find it so fascinating. This almost Harley Quinn character too, this chaotic, almost chaotic evil, but almost chaotic neutral a little bit too. And this breaking of the fashion empire, coming in and bringing down the fashion empire with her ideas and her genius, and using material like garbage or old dresses to create something new and fabulous.
Or moth larva.
That was
or something.
beautiful.
That
was
so
the
cool,
most beautiful thing I've ever seen of that is genius revenge.
Yeah, that was great. That was
a
great.
great moment because Eddie figured that one out before I did.
Right?
Like
did you?
Eddie,
I didn't figure that one out.
As soon as they're opening and the moth flies out, Eddie caught it. Just oh, they were eggs, and I was just like, what? And they go there. Then the next shot, we see the dress had all these moth eggs, and it was just like, oh, what? Fuck yeah! And that one felt cold and that one was great.
And that's another one that in reality, the logistics of that, if you think too much about that, you're like, how does that make sense? How would no one know? But you don't care because it's all about the delivery was so well done, and it's more so about the theatricality of it, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah. Actually, I think you just nailed it in the head for me. This movie, the reason I think it works is because you're able to suspend your disbelief because it's entertaining enough for you to you're able to, and mind you,
exactly.
I came into this movie I can't believe we're covering this. I can't believe they're doing a Maleficent version of Cruella, and then I found this one it kind of had I don't know. I've only seen Maleficent the second one, but
you didn't see the first?
I haven't seen the first one.
It was okay.
Yeah,
this is definitely better.
You're right. I mean, it could be because I think Angelina Jolie is so cold, and I can't she did Jen Aniston.
Oh my
dirty.
God!
Sorry guys, it will never not hurt.
Please.
And as a result, maybe that's why I just couldn't ever get myself to watch Maleficent. But this one, I'm able to say it's just okay, Emma Stone.
Yeah, I really like Emma Stone.
By the end of it, I was just
great.
Okay, this was she was good. This was a fun movie.
It almost played like a 60s crime comedy. It was very British. Emma Stone, is clearly not British. It was a comedy, and it had a nice. It was well paced. I enjoyed the stylist. I complained already about the things I didn't like, but overall, I really did enjoy the style of it. And I think that's also why this movie worked. The fact that it was so over the top, campy, and stylistic. And I do think now is the time that we have to talk about the inevitable thing, where this is also
Wait, what?
Well, I hope you're on the same page as me. I don't know if you are. I mean, if you have something else to say it after this, because I did want to talk about the fact that Disney included their first openly gay character. In this film.
Okay, great. We're talking about this. Good. Just in time for Pride Month. Disney included their first.
All right, but can we just talk about one more thing before this?
Oh, okay, fine.
I also I'm not sure if I like the fact that Estella and Cruella almost were like split personalities for this character.
All right, I agree with you.
You know that it wasn't an easy an easy transition from one to the other. But there's almost a feeling of her being like having this extra personality almost.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think they hinted at that early on in the movie, right? Like it's like you're not Cruella, you're Estella and stuff. I think the problem with that is just like, I don't know, it does make light of mental illness.
That's a good point. I think I also think that sometimes it's like, yeah, like, you know, holding in one aspect of you and letting it out. Like, yeah, like there are people who actually juggle with these things, you know, and they're not like viewing it as something that is more serious than how the movie's portraying it to be, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you know, thinking about that aspect, how she lets one character die and that's why she lets the evil out in her too, it's just also kind of, how do I say, easy of Disney to do, where it was like, all her experiences and all of her trauma just let, you know, like it all died and she let out the evil within her and stuff. And it's like, and they put it very simply as Estella versus Cruella. And other than the fact that it's easy, it's an oversimplification, you know, of how people work. And, you know, these things like personality disorders and trauma and PTSD and blah, blah, blah. So I think, I don't know, if Disney's going to address it, I think, I don't know, that they didn't have to. I don't know. They should have just left that alone, in my opinion. I mean, did it completely take away from the film? No, but at the same time, unnecessary, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it's because
also at the end she comes to kind of like terms between the two of them, right? Like when she's at least about to, you know, meet with her mother for the first time as her mother, you know.
But she gave up.
When she like actually like apologized to her friends for being a dickhead, and you know, and then she was like balancing this Cruella personality with who she really is, right? Or who she quote unquote really is, Estella or whatever. They're both her, you know, it doesn't matter. But then like after, you know, she throws her off the cliff and then she survives, spoiler alert, then it's like, Estella died and now it's just Cruella. But before that, she was already finding a balance between the two of them. And that's what I was actually happy about, where she's like, hey, I could be both these people. I don't have to always be a bitch, or I don't always have to be a pushover.
I think she...
I saw that in at least the way she was acting towards her friends, and she was like finding it, like she was being kind of nicer, and you know.
I actually think it was more like Cruella found a way to live with a little bit of Estella, but because I feel like when Estella came to say goodbye to her mother, like the mother who raised her, I think that was also like, goodbye Estella, I am now Cruella and I'm out for revenge. That was more like the turning point where she's like committed now to the cause. And even though...
Yes, but as Cruella... Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But then, sure, she promised Jasper she's not going to kill. But, like, she's not doing that. Like, I don't think that was, like, her finding balance with the both. I think it was more a sense of, like, her... Of, like, kind of Cruella saying, it's like, okay, I could take a little bit of Estella here. But, like, it's Cruella.
That's interesting. I guess I didn't... You know, I forgot about that, like, pretty much that declaration that it's like, now I'm Cruella, because I just saw it in her actions, and then but then it kind of just, you know, got ignored when there literally is a grave to
and
Estella.
Then she literally buries Estella.
Yeah, she literally buries Estella.
So like, no, Eddie, you're right in your critique on that one. I think it's a dicey thing. I think for like creative purposes it works, but yeah.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. That was just they made a little light of it, and I guess they didn't need to do it. And I also think, again, it's easy because it's like, okay, you became the cold-hearted, nasty-ass bitch you are because, one, Dalmatians were ordered to kill your not mother off a cliff. And then, two, like, you were struggling between these two different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The other stuff about the film worked. This part, for me, not so much. But putting a lid on that, I do want to talk about this first, quote, openly gay character, end quote, because what are your thoughts, Rolando? His name is Artie, by the way.
How many first openly gay characters are we going to have from Disney,
Seriously.
right? That's the first part about this. And the second thing about this is just like, what part was he openly gay?
Yes. So what is it to be, though, openly gay, right? Now, do we need to see him with his partner to know this? Or do we just need to know that this is a man who identifies as gay? And how do you know that this is a man who identifies as gay?
Correct. So I think that's where I take issue. Oh, wait. I actually, if you follow me on Twitter, you know I kind of like, so there was some Republican who's like all up in arms about like how he's so offended that like there's an openly gay character in Disney, to which I tweeted back. I'm just like, in Cruella, we don't see an openly gay character. We see a non-binary character, but there is no way there for me to say that he is a homosexual. At no point did he say, I'm gay. At no point did we see him make out with another man. So why are we to assume that just because he is into fashion and likes to wear makeup that he is gay?
Yes.
And that was my big issue with it.
But that's also the thing too. I mean, okay, so this is getting a little deep into what it is to be gay, right? And you know, I'd love to know where you guys stand on this. But like when you first knew that you were gay, right? Deep down inside, not before the first time you said to yourself or to anyone else that you were gay, when you knew deep down inside that there was something different about you, right? How much of it was based on your sexual orientation? Sometimes I feel like being gay is more than just your sexual preference. And I think that that's what Disney was trying to at least acknowledge, is that, but I think it was more so not just as a gay character. I think it was just someone who was, like you said, non-binary is, I guess, a more believable term, because at the end of the day, being gay does have pretty much everything to do with your sexual orientation. But at the same time, like, at least when I think of myself and when I think of when I was realizing I was a lesbian, I mean, I hadn't kissed any women, I hadn't had sex, but yet I knew that this was who I was. Am I making sense?
No, definitely. Oh. I feel like you are.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't think. Go ahead. All right, go on. Explain it.
Because I felt, for me, because it was like 10 or 11 when I began to understand that there was something, what I interpret as different than what other people may be experiencing. And there was this feeling of like, I guess like the precursor of attraction to the same sex. There was that developing, but there's also this kind of feeling like there was something inside that's just like,
I don't fit the norm.
Yeah. And early on needing to protect that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like these were all like, feel like it's very funny when you bring that up, because I felt like a lot of these were just like, I was not taught this.
Yeah.
There was no model of this. There was nothing on TV that would have told me, hey, these were the feelings that you're probably gonna have, or this is the process of a person who is recognizing that they're gay. But it was like that. But it really, knowing that there was just like a shift happening inside of me as I was growing up.
Right.
Yeah.
When it came, and I knew it was having to do, at some point, I knew that sexuality, before I even understood that word, was in play.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
See, so I'm glad you understand me, because it's also like, even though, you know, my identity as being LGBT, you know, not so much homosexual, right? Because the true definition of homosexual is based in sexual orientation, but being a member of the LGBT community, being gay, being a lesbian, has somewhat to do with who I find attractive, but it's also to do with how I just identify as a human being. And maybe it's just as simply as being queer, right? Being different. But I actually appreciated the fact that Artie, I could tell, right? He was a member of my community, and I didn't need to see him with his boyfriend, right? Because that aspect of who he is does not define him, even though they're kind of saying that it is. in the sense where he's openly gay. But at the same time, it's like, I just wanted to see him live and breathe and be, you know, living in his shop and, you know, just like kicking ass, just like the rest of them, how none of the rest of them were defined by their relationships. Wow. Because also being gay shouldn't just be defined by your sexual orientation, if that makes sense. To me, it's more than that.
Interesting. So as far I might be not agreeing with you guys on this one, right?
Wow. Okay.
Because then what is being gay? Like it is. I think for me it is completely.
Well, maybe you don't identify as queer then, because I identify as queer.
What does that mean?
Queer essentially is quote unquote strange, different, right? Queer is pretty much you do not fit the norm.
Well, what norm though?
The norm that we all grow up seeing
Society's
in our media and in our society. Straight, like men dress this way and men act this way. Women dress this way and women act this way. That is the norm that we are born into.
So, I mean, yeah. But maybe that's because like I happen to enjoy men's fashion and I happen to like enjoy,
so maybe you just don't identify as queer then is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So like my gayness for me is like generally speaking predicated on my attraction to men. Usually for me it has very little to do with like how I act. I feel like it has a lot less to do with like, you know, the kinds of stuff that I like my culture, right? Like being gay for me is not a cultural thing. Like for me, being gay is the fact that I am attracted to men.
Wow. Okay. For me, it's both. That's so interesting.
Yeah. Maybe it's because like I don't know. I guess I'm just like a cultural whore where I dabble in everything. Like I dabble very much in white culture and I dabble very much in Hispanic culture. But I
okay, yeah. I guess I enjoy taking part. It's also because I'm a lesbian, right? But I still indulge and I support cultures like of, you know, gay men, of transsexuals, of transgenders, and other people who don't necessarily fit what I assign myself to. But you know, I understand that, like, because also when you're a part of the community, it's also when you're like a trans person, it's more than just sexual orientation. It's who you are as a human being, not being right and stuff.
But that's why you know, when it comes to trans issues and stuff, I usually don't speak to it because like that's something that I myself still don't understand, right? And I'm not trying to make that sound harsh. I'm trying to say is like I don't speak to those issues not because I don't care or I don't want to understand, but it's just like I can't speak to those issues because I myself as a person I don't know the trans experience and I'm not going to speak to it. You know what I mean? Well, what they say is their truth. That's their truth, and I'm not going to. I have no counter argument to that, right?
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah, but. Yeah, so like for me, like so it's so interesting. I for me like gay is like my attraction to men, but like outside of that,
I guess this is also just a difference because to me, like the reason why I bring that up is because it's more than just what it seems on the outside to being any one of us, being gay, lesbian, trans, or just simply queer, bisexual, pansexual. It's more than just sexual orientation, and so I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up too. Is because, and I appreciated that you said that he's more so like a non-binary because we don't really see him with his partner or whatever. But at the same time, it was nice for me to look at someone, right? If I was a young youth and I would see him in this movie, I don't need to see him with his partner to know that that's who he is because I can already tell that he is a member of my community just in the fact that he is who he is. He is living freely and proudly and openly as a person who is just simply different.
Isn't that not correct?
What do you mean?
Because all right, hang on. Prince was heterosexual, but by all accounts, he was non-binary. He was very flamboyant. He was very extra.
Well,
to the point where I don't think he was actually. I think he was actively anti-LGBTQ at times. It's like I think by the toward the end of his life, he was like. I think he might have supported some anti-gay legislation.
Let's check that before.
Let me double check that. But I think there might. I'm not saying that he was. I'm just saying that there were instances where Prince might have been like not cool with the gay community. Prince will always be a gay community, whether he wanted to be or not. How to reconcile his later conservatism with his sexual liberation he stood for. I'm gonna add this link to the show notes. But yeah, towards the end of his life, he was leaning conservative. He was a little bit on the anti-gay thing.
Oh, well,
interesting, right?
Well,
so now here's the thing. So that's why I ask. It's just like, yeah. So let's say a queer person sees Prince, but Prince is still, as far as you know, he was still straight. So is that really?
Well, I mean, queer is part of the community, so
right. But that's the thing. So like him being queer, but if he doesn't identify as that, then does that count?
I personally think it does.
Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, I don't know if it does. I guess actions speak louder than words, right? For me, and like if like you know if I said I found out that like Prince leaned conservative towards the end of his life and maybe had like a little bit of anti-gay, he supported some anti-gay measures. You know what? That's his prerogative. He can do whatever he wants. But again, actions speak louder than words here. So like that sounds to me like a straight guy, and not yeah, like cool. He had like the sexual liberation that he presented, and like great for the community. But like, do his actions speak to that anymore? Or and it's hard to say. He passed away, so it's just like maybe not the best example. But I guess that's what I'm saying. It's just like, so that's why I don't think it's fair for us to consider this one character that we saw in this movie as gay when we saw nothing to say that he is gay. Outside of being non-binary, you could be straight and non-binary. Like there's nothing. I think there's some fashion designers who I thought were like gay, and it turns out they're straight. Who is it? Shit.
But I see all these straight people walking around, and they're not like kissing and being in relationships with each other. But I know that they're straight. Like there's something to know. Like I know that Horace is probably straight, even though I never see him interact with a woman in that way. So like I think that
we saw. Oh, Horace.
But I don't think we need to see gay people. I mean, yeah, normalize gay behaviors and gay relationships. Mm-hmm. I'm all for that. But at the same time, like for me to feel like there's inclusion and for me to feel like representation, I don't always need to see like gay people making out and like seeing them with their partners in order for me to be like, okay, yeah, you're gay.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Neither do I. And I think we should be kind of going that route of like where it shouldn't matter. Right? Like it like the fact that we had this one non-binary character, whether or not he is gay, straight, bisexual, asexual, it doesn't matter. All right? Like why is Disney patting itself on the back here again for the 7th time? You know what I mean?
I mean, I appreciated his character and I enjoyed his character. But again, I do think it was just like Disney being like, oh, hey, we have a gay character. We're cool. We're hip,
Yeah.
Like, and
but so that's why I think for me it was just like, but like I said, I don't think he was. I have no evidence to say that he's gay. For me, I'm okay with him. I'm okay with him being genderqueer, non-binary. That's all fine. Like, we could like accept him as part of our community. But like, I guess maybe Prince did have. When I found out that Prince was conservative, had like this profound effect on me, where I'm just like, I guess I can't.
Yeah, now you're going back to Prince.
I guess like after that, like because it was very soon after that where I kind of had this assumption, which is like, well, I guess it doesn't matter how you dress and act. Like you could still be.
Yeah, but whether or not he wanted to admit it or not, Prince was 100% queer.
Okay, but
because it was the energy that he gave out.
But
and it was that energy that I mean, the article just says it right there, that gay icon, even though he didn't want to be.
Exactly.
There's there is something about certain individuals, that they may identify as straight, but it's the way they perform, is the way they form their art that somehow speaks to the gay community.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day too, this particular character Artie, gay or not, whether he represents that may not be what I identify with, like but there's something about him and the energy that portrays in this particular character in this story that speaks to an aspect of my gayness. You know, what it is to be like, you know, when you're like, you feel like the underdog or not given an opportunity. And then someone walks into your life and says, hey, I love your style. I love your uniqueness. You know, I want to bring that out to the world, you know, and that's what I loved about the art. I wish there were more scenes with him.
Agreed.
Yeah, me
okay,
too.
because there was something like, you know, there was something like, how do you say, hysterical about him. Something like, I can see him just making comments that would have stole the scene.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Well,
he had a certain just je ne sais pourquoi.
Je ne sais pas. Yeah.
What?
You're saying I don't. Yeah, he has a certain I don't know as je ne sais pas.
Pourquoi. What?
Maybe you're saying je ne sais quoi, but
je ne sais, maybe. I don't know. I'm not French. Sorry.
I
I agree with you, Eddie, on
agree.
that one. And I think that's. Wow, do you think that they didn't have him on because like they didn't want him to upstage Emma Stone?
I would watch a movie about Artie.
I would too.
Yep. Do you know what?
I thought he was sharing needles at first.
And yeah, right. Yes. You know, and that kind of like uniqueness that just radiated from the moment you see him walk out. And I don't know if it's the first scene where he does have the half makeup, where it's just like he does one eye. He does, and then the other, you know, like that whole like half of this, half of that, you know, like playing with that. Like I don't have to be entirely this. I could be part this and part
Absolutely.
that.
Oh, look at
Yeah. That's what this means. Because their eyes are sun and the moon. You can be both. Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that's
just in time
what
for
I'm
Pride.
about,
What a conversation to have.
Seriously, yeah.
But
but Disney already gave us gay characters, so
that's the thing. So I guess that's like because I saw that tweeted a lot, right? Where it's just like, how is this your first gay character again, Disney? Like what, you know, that Oprah gif? Like, what is your truth? Like, what is the truth here? Tell us, like what. Like how can you have so many openly first gay characters? And then the other thing, I guess, I mean, this might be the best openly gay character if it is, because like he had actual lines and he actually was involved in the plot, where as opposed to, and you know, when we talked about Beauty and the Beast, I complained about this, right? Like we got a 5-second dance that LeFou had, and prior to that, the reason I don't qualify him as like Disney's first openly gay character would be because he didn't become openly gay until that instance, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you. And, you know, even though I think Elsa is a very openly gay character, there's nothing that, you know, ever confirms it enough for us.
Right. Yeah, Elsa is a great example where she's a queer-coded character, but not openly
Not
gay.
fully, yeah.
Right. So,
but there's an energy about that character that
there
calls
is.
to us.
Yeah, let
There's
it go.
Something about her story that calls to our identities.
Yeah,
Mickey
that's
Mouse
I will defend Elsa to the ends of the earth over
Mickey
Anna.
Mouse is going to kill us. He's going to hunt us down for talking. Yeah. He has us on the list.
Impersonations.
Like Mickey Mouse is going to come for us when he finds out. It's just like, how dare you say this is not the first gay Disney character. But sorry, Mickey.
Well, you know, and so that Mickey Mouse doesn't sue us, maybe we should wrap up this almost 2-hour-long conversation on Cruella De Vil.
Who knew? Who knew that Cruella De Vil was going to give us such a...
I mean, you know, I kind of knew this would be a good one, which is why I was all for it.
I would not have mind a limited series of this, except of a movie, and like slow the pace down, and it be her planning this big extravagant, like, you know, what she does in the park, you know, but had made it like a whole build up, and really not like do it, not it be like a 2-minute scene, but actually like a show that she just throws in the park, and it being like a big thing. Like you see the dresses, and Artie's like in the middle of it, like, ladies, let's get ready for this, you know?
I can see that. Like, it could be a good Disney Plus original series for sure.
TVs have ruined movies. We see movies and we're like, I just wish it was a TV show because I want more.
Well, for me, what I actually hoped when I kind of finished this movie, though, was it's just like, I think this movie would have been good if it wasn't attached to Cruella. If it was just an original storyline, I think this one would have worked. And then you don't have the baggage of trying to fit in, like how we know that she's going to try to kill 101 Dalmatians.
So does that mean you think that this wasn't needed?
Oh, that's not what I was saying.
Well, then, can you answer that question?
I don't know. I'm indifferent on that answer, right? Like, that's a hard one for me to answer because maybe the 1996 one, I think, captured 101 Dalmatians spirit so well. Mm-hmm. Where this one doesn't. This one is a little bit removed from 101 Dalmatians, right? I don't think I needed a Cruella De Vil origin story, truthfully.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they try to like really fist it in there how they're going to get 101 Dalmatians out of this, but
the word
for me, I don't. Sorry,
you're ridiculous.
but I don't think to be honest, I needed this movie. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy it. I just, but I don't think I needed it.
That's absolutely my stance. I did not need this movie, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. And like I said, I think this one is one of those movies where if it had not been attached to like a property and it was like an original movie, I feel like this actually would have been a cool movie to watch and stuff, and you'd be like, what's happening? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, actually, I mean, I have such a crush on Emma Stone, so I think that's also just what like run it over for me because she's a hottie.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts? Did you see Cruella? Do you think Cruella, is a villain for no reason like I possibly do, even though except for the animal cruelty part? I mean, what are your thoughts on Cruella? What are your thoughts on this episode? Reach out to us and let us know. Reach out to us on Instagram at Remakes, Reboots, Revivals. Hit us up on Gmail, Remakes, Reboots, Revivals at gmail.com. We are also on Facebook, facebook.com/Remakes, Reboots, Revivals. Twitter at Remakes Podcast. And we have a hotline.
That's right, guys. We have a hotline. So give us a call, leave us a voicemail. We just might play it on the air. That number is 862-248-2326. That's 862-248-2326. Call us. Drop us a voicemail.
Absolutely.
We want to hear from you.
We do. We love hearing from you. Yes. A lot of you have been reaching out to us, and we appreciate that. And so, so happy Pride Month. We look forward to delivering you some great content all month long. Hopefully LGBTQ focused. We'll see. We'll figure that out. But until next time, stay unoriginal.